Welcome back, everyone. I'm absolutely pumped to have you here for today's explainer because we are breaking down something truly fascinating. Today, we're looking at a brilliant, deeply cinematic psychological script titled The Market Humiliates Ego. Now, if you've ever spent even 5 minutes staring at financial charts, or frankly, if you've ever tried to master any high-stakes environment, you already know that the technical skills, well, they're really only half the battle. The actual war is happening right in your head. And this source material maps out that internal war with absolute brutal precision. Okay, let's dive right into this. The market has a brutal way of exposing people, especially traders with ego. Picture a trader sitting in a dark room, right? They're bathed in the blue glow of this crazy luxury multi-monitor setup. They're smirking, they're feeling totally untouchable. But the harsh reality is, the market literally does not care about your setup, and it definitely doesn't care about your ego. Actually, scratch that. It actively hunts for it. This explainer is going to show us exactly how the market systematically sniffs out our arrogance and turns it into pure financial ruin. Section 1. The Trap of Ego. You know, the psychological descent of a trader almost never begins with a catastrophic failure, because if it did, people would just walk away and never come back, right? No, the trap is way more insidious than that. The descent always begins with early, misleading success. It builds into this incredibly predictable three-step cycle. Step 1, a winning streak happens. You see a sea of green candles on your screen. Everything you touch turns to profit. Then, step 2, false confidence starts to take root. You start attributing this run of good luck to your own sheer, unadulterated genius. You actually start to think, wow, I am smarter than the market. And then, step 3 hits. The ego gets destroyed, and it gets destroyed fast. The market violently reverses. All those green candles, they turn into an absolute avalanche of red, crashing aggressively. The trader is just frozen in shock, completely wiped out in minutes. It's this violent emotional whiplash going straight from absolute confidence to absolute panic. The contrast here is just stark. On one side, you have arrogance. That's the emotional trader panicking as the market suddenly turns against them. On the other side, you have discipline. The market strictly, and I mean predictably, rewards the calm professional who is simply executing a checklist. The disciplined trader doesn't experience those wild, adrenaline-fueled highs of arrogance, but they also don't suffer the devastating crashes. It's a profound lesson in control versus chaos. Section 2. Descent into emotional gambling. Because when that first major shock hits the ego, a trader doesn't usually just walk away. They dig in. And guys, that is exactly where the true psychological nightmare begins. The moment you think you're unbeatable, you've already become vulnerable. This is the dark turning point. The trader is leaning back, overconfident, completely unaware that the trends are already reversing against them. And the most dangerous part of this vulnerability is that it's entirely hidden from the person experiencing it. To them, they're a genius. To the market, they're just prey. And this whole process brilliantly illustrates the exact downward spiral where ego completely dismantles discipline. First, out of pure frustration, you increase your risk. Then, you start ignoring your carefully planned stop-loss rules. Next, the panic fully sets in, and you desperately start chasing your losses. Finally, you're just forcing trades out of thin air, sweating, rapidly clicking your mouse, completely unmoored from reality. That professional checklist we talked about a minute ago? Yeah, it's completely gone. Right at this point in the spiral, trading officially stops being a profession. That multi-monitor desk metaphorically transforms into a neon-lit casino. It becomes pure emotional gambling. The calculated risk-taker is gone, replaced by someone chasing an addictive high and just desperately trying to win back what they've lost. Section 3. The market reflects you. Because after the chaos and after the gambling comes the mental exhaustion. The account is slowly bleeding red, and the trader is just sitting there, staring blankly, feeling emotionally numb. This is the period of intense denial. Because when the losses pile up, what does the ego do? It builds shields. The frustrated trader will rapidly swap out their strategies. They'll completely change their chart indicators. They'll scream about the news cycle. They'll literally smash their keyboards and blame their brokers. They will blame anything and everything except their own emotional instability. The ego absolutely refuses to take the hit. But here is the profound self-realization that our source material really drives home. The market is not against you. In fact, the market doesn't even know you exist. It is a completely neutral entity. Staring at the charts is actually like looking into a mirror. The market simply takes whatever psychological weaknesses you bring to the table and reflects them right back at you, which usually comes in the form of massive financial loss. So the crucial point here is this. The market takes your rawest emotions and amplifies them to destroy your account. Fear of missing out, greed for an entirely unrealistic profit, impatience when a setup takes a little too long to develop, and absolutely the most destructive of all, revenge trading. Trying to punish the market for taking your money. The market basically takes these heavy psychological pressures, dials them all the way up to an 11, and just waits for you to break.
Section 4, the path of discipline.
Now, there is a path to redemption here, but it requires a complete mental reset. That is why consistency is rare, because self-control is rare. Surviving the market isn't about having some secret magic algorithm. It requires a peaceful, organized environment. It requires a really structured journaling routine where you coldly, calmly evaluate your decisions without a drop of emotion. It requires literally the rarest commodity on earth, absolute self-control.
There is this massive myth in trading that desperately needs to be shattered when we compare two very different profiles. On one side, you have the supposedly smart, highly talented, but emotionally erratic trader. On the other side, you have the completely average-looking but deeply disciplined trader. Over the long term, discipline beats raw talent every single time. Real traders sit silently. They wait. They watch the chaos unfold without actively participating in it, steadily growing their accounts, while the smart guys blow theirs up in a total panic. This directly challenges what almost everyone assumes about Wall Street and trading. You do not need excitement to make money. In fact, seeking an adrenaline rush in the financial markets will get you punished faster than almost anything else on earth. Look, if you want excitement, go skydive. If you want to make money, you need relentless, boring, absolute control.
Section 5, Mastering the Self.
It all starts long before the opening bell even rings. Before you try to master charts, master yourself first. Try to picture a trader meditating calmly at sunrise, long before they even flip on a screen. True preparation, getting your mind right, recognizing your own unique triggers, that is the actual foundation of long-term financial growth. You simply can't master the chaos of the market until you've fully mastered the chaos in your own mind.
Now, what's really interesting here is that this reveals the ultimate twist of this whole cinematic psychological script we've been unpacking today. Trading was never really about beating the market. It was about defeating the worst parts of yourself. The enemy was never the algorithms, it wasn't the news, and it certainly wasn't the broker. The enemy was within all along. Your fear, your greed, your ego.
And that brings us right to our final thought. I want to leave you with this direct challenge to really reflect on, are you just trying to beat the market, or are you truly ready to do the hard work and defeat the worst parts of yourself? It's a pretty profound shift in perspective, whether you are trading stocks, building a business, or honestly just navigating life. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and I will see you next time.